Ever signed up for a finance app thinking that it would help, only to feel even more overwhelmed? That was my fear with Monarch Money. It promises to replace your spreadsheets, your stress, and even your financial advisor, all for a small fee. But does it actually deliver, or just charge you for a prettier dashboard? Well, I tested it for weeks, and what I found at the end might surprise you. But before I even connected a single account or touched my budget inside Monarch Money, I did what I always do. I scrolled through the reviews. And not just the glowing ones either. I went straight to the 1-star section first, because if something is gonna go wrong, that's usually where it shows up first, right? And sure enough, one Monarch Money review stuck out to me. This user was frustrated that there was no free version of the program. He wrote that every dollar has a free version, highlighting that Monarch didn't disclose the subscription until after he downloaded it, so he ended up uninstalling it just 2 minutes later. He bumped his rating from 1 star to 2 stars, though, simply because there were no ads. Fair enough, right? Now, I get that kind of experience. You're like, oh, I want a free version, and there isn't, so oh well. But if you're looking for something completely free, that could definitely be a speed bump if you want something free and it turns out it costs something. All right, especially if you're like budgeting. But here's the thing, Monarch is not even pretending to be free. That's just a misunderstanding. Their reply to this comment actually made a lot of sense to me. They said they don't run ads or sell your financial data. All of their revenue comes from subscriptions, so they wouldn't have ads and a free version. Honestly, I would rather pay a few bucks and know that my data isn't being harvested for ad targeting in the first place. And based on what I've seen, this whole surprise charge thing from before isn't a widespread issue either. If it were, I'd expect to see dozens of similar complaints, but I didn't. Seems like a one-off to me. And on the flip side, a lot of people are getting real value from Monarch and leaving reviews about it. So let's look at a few of those. One user said that it was simply the best finance tracking app that he'd ever used. He tried Mint before and found it frustrating to get the info that he needed. With Monarch, he said that the layout was customizable, easy to use, and in his words, actually useful. All right. Another user mentioned that if you like micromanaging your finances, this app's a dream. He pointed out features like multiple budgeting formats, net worth tracking, goal setting, and so on. Now, he did say the initial setup felt a bit overwhelming, and I agree with that sentiment, but once you get past the first setup phase, I think it honestly just clicks into place. So yeah, while not everyone is thrilled about the paid-only model, the actual experience of using the Monarch Money app is overwhelmingly positive across the board. But is the Monarch Money subscription really good? Well, let's talk about what Monarch Money actually does. Because honestly, I didn't want just another budgeting app. When I first tried it, I wanted a better one. I wanted something that stood out. And after weeks of testing, I actually do think that Monarch's tools stood out to me. So let's start with what I use every single day, the budget section. So Monarch gives you 2 ways to approach this. One is your classic category budgeting, where you assign a limit to groceries, entertainment, rent, and so on. Simple enough. But the other is called flex budgeting. Now, I didn't think I'd like flex budgeting at first, but once I learned more about it, I gave it a shot. I actually found it pretty helpful. So instead of tracking every single category, you kind of look at the big picture, your flexible spending. Think of it like one giant pot for stuff that actually fluctuates. It's less stressful, and for someone like me who doesn't want to obsess over line items every day, it's a nice middle ground. But where Monarch Money subscription prices were really justified and click for me were in the cash flow page. I think this is what made it really worth it. This feature is like a high-res snapshot of your finances. It breaks down where your money's coming from and where it's going, and you can filter it down to monthly, quarterly, or yearly trends. It shows your income, your expenses, your savings rate, and it's not even just the numbers, it visualizes all of it in this easy-to-understand chart and visual. So I compare this to Copilot, which I also tested. Copilot looks slick, and it also has some visuals, but it doesn't go as deep, it doesn't show you as much. Monarch lets you view cash flow by merchant, by group, by category. I didn't even realize how much I was spending at DoorDash until Monarch laid it out in like a pie chart. Gotta love them pie charts. It was like equal parts helpful and embarrassing to learn that, but at least I save money. Maybe, sometimes I go out more. Then there's the reports tool. Now, I didn't think I needed this one either until I used it. With a few clicks, I could analyze my income trends, look at my spending patterns, basically get a bird's eye view of how I was handling money. It even helped me catch a subscription that I forgot to cancel. That alone probably saved me the monthly fee. And speaking of subscriptions, Monarch has a recurring expenses and bills tracker. Now, this is underrated. So it scans your synced accounts for recurring charges. So think of like Spotify, your gym membership, or even your paycheck. That's a recurring one. It just pops everything into a calendar view. I didn't even need to set it up manually. It just checks everything that happens recurringly, it notes the pattern, and it puts it right over. Compare that to competitors like Quicken Simplifi, where I had to manually tag and set up half of my subscriptions. Monarch just does it. And the fact that it doesn't lump all purchases into just generic categories like shopping really matters and can save a lot of time. And what brings me to one of my favorite extras was the shopping thing, which is the Monarch Retail Sync extension. So I buy a lot from Amazon. I like to go shopping. Normally, I just get like one big list item because I'm shopping on Amazon, right? But Monarch takes that and breaks it down into what I actually bought, right? Shampoo, pet food, random phone stand, this thing, that thing. It splits the purchases into categories that it can recognize. It adds notes, and it makes my spending so much clearer on what I actually spend on, not just lump categories. All right, now let's talk investments. So Monarch lets you track your holdings and even input them manually if your brokerage account isn't supported, but it usually does. That mattered to me because one of my accounts was not syncing right away. It's not a trading app like Empower or Personal Capital, but it does give you a clear picture of where your portfolio stands. And for someone who wants all their financials in a single place, that's powerful. So when you add all that up, custom rules, unlimited savings goals, visual charts, granular control, and everything in one clean dashboard, I think it's really easy to see why so many people make the switch to this. But I want to mention, let's not pretend that it's perfect. If there's one thing that actually tripped me up a bit, before I even paid attention to Monarch Money, the subscription cost, it was the initial learning curve of it. Like, the subscription cost is one thing, but like when you're jumping in, it's like, okay, where do I start? Monarch just does a lot. And when you first dive in, it can feel like too much too fast. But once I got through that first stretch, everything felt incredibly smooth. And honestly, the depth is what makes it valuable to me. And having that information, even though it's like all there, as long as you know what it is and where it is, you can use it. And it's helpful. But all right, now let's get to the big one. How much does Monarch Money cost? And most importantly, is the Monarch Money subscription cost worth it? The truth is this, Monarch is not the cheapest option out there. And if you're only managing one account or trying to dabble in budgeting, the price might seem high. But if you're serious about building a system that actually gives you insight and control over your entire financial life, or you have a lot going on and it gets extra complicated, I think it's priced pretty fairly for what it offers. Check the link in the description for their current pricing and promos. We'll keep it updated with the best deal we can find. Monarch Money is not trying to be everything for everyone, and that's what makes it powerful. If you're ready to finally stop guessing with your money and you want a tool that actually helps you understand it, track it, and grow it, Monarch might be exactly what you're looking for. Check the link in the description of this video to get started with our special discount and coupon.